Okay, so let's get started today. A number of announcements for today. The first and most important one is anyway, the first and most important one is how do I get my stuff on your critique hour? You go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon here. Big request from me to you as a favor for all of the classes that I've given you guys over the years. And if I've helped your art in even a small way, please go to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell. I want you guys, since you've subscribed, to get the updates you subscribed for. That's all I'm asking for, no more, no less. I'm not asking everyone who comes by to subscribe. If they feel like the information I give is valuable, they'll just subscribe on their own. You don't have to leave likes because I don't really care for that. All I care about is for those who did subscribe that YouTube is not siphoning or doing something to my channel where I'm not getting any access to my subscribers. If I don't know why this happens. Who knows? It's pretty obvious. They just want to target ad-friendly channels, and I'm not necessarily ad-friendly because my videos are too long, but I still want my subscribers to have access to me. It's terrible what's happening to my streams, what's happening to my viewer count. It's very obvious. The numbers are extremely different from where they were 3 years ago. So if you can, even if it's on, turn it off and turn it back on again. Go to my website. Go to my YouTube channel, and right beside where it says subscribed, click on the notification bell here and click on all. You'll get all notifications as well. I've also been trying trying to sneak some memes into the community updates for my channel. You know how you can go to community and post an image. So I'll be sharing some of my memes that you guys may have seen on Instagram. The meme the meme cloud will soon cast shadow on YouTube. And another announcement is for any creative writers who feel like flexing their creative writing muscles, go to istebrak.com, go to the Reddit icon, and look here, Community Creative Writing Challenge. So the Creative Writing Challenge is going to be something that I host this coming summer after the Foliage Challenge. Meaning that I need the writing to be handed in by the 31st. Anyone who's submitting anything. Read through this. It's not an illustration. It's not a challenge yet. It's a call for people to come in and write something that we can use as a challenge in the future. And we'll probably go through all of them. The really good one, the best one, will be used for the upcoming summer community challenge. So I think this is a really cool way to have you guys interact with the challenge process. It's really cool to see what you guys can come up with and what your visual library can yield when tasked with a creative challenge like this. But it's only text, it's not a visual, so it's a really cool different approach to building worlds and building environments and stuff like that. So if you like writing and you have an idea and you just, it's just floating in there, you might not like it yourself, but who knows, maybe others will love it. Give it a shot and write up something. Submissions can be just posted as a Reddit submission. I'll probably amend that and add it here. I believe that's it for announcements. If you did learn something from today and you want to support, you can always join as a $1 patron. You also have different options for different patron tiers. This month's rewards are about to be distributed. Part of the rewards is a time-lapse video of my latest work along with the brushes used, critique hours for the private Discord homework for my members on Discord. So many different rewards from that just kind of help you continue your education process, but really keep it low pressure, sorry. Low pressure meaning it's not this extremely high pressure environment where you don't have a lot of flexibility. Deadlines are flexible. Subject matter is pretty flexible. Once I send out the assignment, I try to tailor them to be the template is flexible, but even that is also flexible thereafter. So if you are looking for that kind of friendly touch and go environment to help keep you on your toes with your art. My Discord is perfect for that. Again, it's not really something that I would say is comparable to my private tutoring. Private tutoring is very intensive, tons of homework, bi-weekly deadlines. So that's a very different kind of environment than what I offer in my Discord apprentice community. So if you are interested in jumping in and working on your portfolio, it's a wonderful way to advance your portfolio. I assign stuff from studies to illustrations, and you have access to me in DMs to ask me any kind of questions you want, any kind of concerns, what you feel like doing with your art. And usually the assignments I send out is a collective response to all your concerns. And lately I've been asking my apprentices what they want to see in the assignments. You can see a trend here. I'm kind of going to you guys and asking you, what do you want to see in the community, in the challenges? What do my apprentices want to see in some of the challenges coming up? So it's a very flexible environment, and very low pressure, but still extremely fun and very effective still, if you feel like you're someone who doesn't work really, really well under pressure, but still want to build your portfolio. So let's jump into today's critique hour. It has been such a long week, and this is the last painting I'll be looking at until like Monday. So I'm gonna give it my all, but please know I am tired. I am beat. I have brushed my last stroke as of today, or stroked my last brush, whatever, as of today, but as of right now. But I'm giving it my last little what's left of my fuel on this. I'm running on fumes. Okay, so we have a mermaid. She's floating. And I have a number of issues with this, and I'm going to just try to go at them one by one. So, and there's no particular order or finesse for this time around. Environment, we'll get to it. Portrait, we'll get to it when it's time. One of the biggest things about pieces like this that are vertical, what do you notice? You notice something that's pretty blatant, like it's pretty obvious once you get it, and you're just like, how did I not see that? But what do you notice about the portrait? If anyone wants to answer. So the portrait is the only thing here that's actually detailed. Now let me keep my sound settings open in case I get too passionate while teaching and start hitting the red. The warning, you're too loud, Istebrak, actually. Thank you, Adam. You're so sweet. Thank you for popping in. So what do you guys notice? Oops. The portrait is the tiniest part of the illustration. In fact, I think even the water lily, the lily things are, or no, what are they called? Lilies, right? Yeah. Are bigger. Okay, so when we have issues like this, when we have a painting that is 100%, almost 90% figure, you want to focus on the figure. You want to spend some time telling the story only through the figure. Whatever is biggest in the painting is carrying the narrative. Write that back to me. This is really important. Don't overlook this. Don't think it's an option. No, whatever's the biggest thing in the portrait, most likely, and biggest by meaning like biggest subject matter, it's still related to the focal point. I'm not talking about a mountain in the distance. I'm talking about part of the object. Whatever is the biggest part of the object, whatever is the biggest thing we can see, is carrying most of the narrative. So why on earth would you spend so much time on the portrait? In fact, I really don't think this 3/4 view is, it just looks like a mermaid trying to pose for Instagram. You know, it looks like the most awkward pose that is tailoring to her best angle. It's not about that. It's about someone who went into the lake and looked around them, you know, frantically, and all of a sudden saw this mermaid who, in my mind, is kind of like meditating. She's kind of just like enjoying her mermaid life. She's just caught being a mermaid. And that means that you're going to have to think about what the lighting is doing for your portrait, what the light is doing for you. So that's why I opened up Portrait Studio, so I could pose her to be a little bit more part of the narrative, to have something that's a little bit more strong. So before I do that, what I'm going to do is just take a quick screenshot, have this open on the side. Oops, I should have just opened the JPEG. That's okay. And let's pose our lady here, so that she does the same thing. Actually, I need to keep that open. I'll turn them off when it's necessary. So what we're gonna do is, I think it's best to have a low camera. So I'm gonna rotate her. Actually, I'm not gonna rotate her just yet. I'm just gonna get her to be the right size because I really don't need her legs. I'm gonna push her to the bottom a little bit because the legs are part of the tail, so they're not really that important. I'm going to just reposition her and just think about the mermaid. So let's first think about the lighting. So the light is coming directly from above her. So the background light, the background color, I want it to be a little bit darker. I could also have the option, remember when I used to do 2 light sources in a scene, I could have her a silhouette. I could have her be a silhouette with the rim light at the top, right on her shoulders. I'm still deciding on that, but at least let's just get the top light, the top down light in the right spot, because that definitely is important. Before I rotate her, I want access to all my joints, so I'm going to rotate it back to face me and pose her and then move her and take the photo. Before I do that, I'm just going to try to get the narrative going. So she's floating, she's suspended, there's weightlessness. So why is her shoulder feel like she's leaning on something, like her arm is on a countertop or something? Her shoulders, when you're floating around, you don't really have shoulder pain. You know, there's no pain when you're floating in the water. So that you really shouldn't be seeing any tenseness in any of the joints, which is why people actually use water for therapy. So I feel like she's just caught looking up at the light, kind of just, again, enjoying her mermaid life, and the pose here seems fine. I'm gonna actually get the core, the root joint that moves the entire body, and I'm just gonna make it float that way. Just really throw off the axis of a straight spine that we're used to seeing. And I might mess around with the entire body because I know it's just going to become a tail. So I'm not too worried about the lower half. I just want it to feel weightless. So anywhere where we usually see some kind of straight stance for a normal standing person who's kind of a slave to gravity, that's where I want to start. I want to get rid of that. I want to get rid of that weight and just make it really feel like she's floating. And then I actually should have done that instead, because there is still shape to the tail, but that's okay. I can make the 2 knees kind of lock together to make it look like it's a tail. All right, and then she's kind of just looking up. Get that root again and just try to really make it feel like that. You did do a 3/4 view, so I don't want it to be too much on the side view. And that way we still get a 3/4 view so you can see some character, but tilting her head that way and this way also just really feels like she's weightless. She's kind of just like surrendering to the water and just enjoying being a mermaid. So that also works. I actually like that. It makes you look more like a mature painter because you're exploring all the possible joints. If you have issues with understanding what joints do, you can also get Portrait Studio, and that'll help you. I'm going to throw off a couple. Just kind of try to, if you don't know what to do, move every joint and see what happens. Things feel so much more flexible. Humans aren't just a single 5 or 4 joints. We are constantly moving. Our spine alone is responsible for so much of our flexibility. So she has a spine, so she's going to have some of that. And I'm just throwing the arms this way, rotating this arm, kind of just throwing it that way, just to feel weightless. Anything that I can move, I'm gonna move it so it feels weightless. The other arm, I should have mirrored the motion, but I'm gonna make it a little bit more asymmetrical. Both arms don't have to be doing the same thing. This one could be rotating out a little bit that way. Actually, I want that one rotated too. So she really just feels like she's just surrendering, just doing her mermaid thing. And now in this case, actually it's more this way. So I feel like this is all looking great. And now in this way, I'm gonna go back to models and turn off the joints, hide joints. And the reason why I wanted to, in this reference in Portrait Studio, change the background color is so I can see where those highlights are from top down. Like, where do I want the shadow? Do I want the shadow directly above her? Do I want it tilted to the side a little bit, just like that? Or do I want to see some of the stomach? I want to see some of the stomach because it's really part of a female body to just see some stomach. You don't want to hide too much of it because then you're missing all of the components of the pinup. But I will still in here turn this into a silhouette. So I'm just here so that my reference has definition. All right, and then I'm gonna turn the tablet controls off and you can also just take a screenshot with Portrait Studio, or you could just take a screenshot like this. And now I open this one. We've got a much better reference. So we've explored actually, I don't want to do that. I want to do one more thing, which is I wanted to get rid of the tenseness in the shoulders. And that's simple. You just kind of just move them down and out. So I just wanted them to not feel so tense, just relaxed and low. Even if it feels off to make them this low, I'm just gonna force it, just because I know my instinct also as an artist will fix what I have wrong. So you can see how tense they are and kind of out and strong. And here I've kind of just gotten them out of the way. So she really feels like she's surrendering. But I also want to kind of lengthen the head a little bit. Just again, so we're separating the shoulders from the neckline and she feels even more suspended. I think that looks a lot more mature. Oops. You kind of have to click on the background for it to work for green shot. Okay, so let's apply all these changes. I'm just gonna go ham. I'm gonna start with the background, start with the lighting above her, and just go from there. Because it's not about the portrait, it's about the character, the entire figure. All right, so it looks like we're gonna be working with like 3 different versions. All right, so I'm gonna start up here. I'm gonna start with our light source, establish that, make sure that makes sense. Keep it nice and white and bright and pretty. I might even bring those beautiful little water reflections and those ripples. But this alone has done so much for the piece, right? Because it actually feels like we're underwater now. Before it felt like she was just floating in space. Oops, wrong brush from last class. All right, and so I don't feel like I need to get the other layer because there is subsurface on the skin. Then we've got liquefy. Lots of liquefy ahead of us. Lots. So before I do that, I am going to take her head, leaving the hair suspended vertically. I'm going to tilt the head. So part of the hair is going to be hiding the face. I know it's going to look really weird, but bear with me because this is a multiple faceted change that I'm only doing half of at the moment. So it's really gonna feel like she's just throwing her head in the air. And I'm gonna be working on that tilt as well. Remember the tilt in the head when we moved it back a little bit. So this is just to start off the first half of the changes. But yeah, guys, please hop over to my channel and turn the notification bell on. It almost feels like I don't even have a channel sometimes. Nobody's getting any notifications. No one's coming to the streams. I'm not sure why this is happening the way it is, but I hope one day it'll get fixed. But until then, the only way we can really fight it is by by enabling your notification bell. So if you have the time right now to pause or just quickly go to my channel, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and turn the notification bell on, whatever you can do to debug kind of what's going on and why people aren't getting notifications. All right. So my reference is here. I don't need to be scared. I'll first start with the I. Just really trust that the change I make here is going to be respective to the perspective. If you need lines, also throw in some lines to help you read your reference better. Throw lines on the Portrait Studio model as well. It's okay. I know her face is all distorted, but bear with me. All right. Some of you panic. Who here panics after doing the first change? And you're like, ah, it looks horrible. What am I doing? If you panic too soon, you're really never gonna, I mean, if you quit on anything just because it looks bad, you're never gonna achieve anything in life. That's just a rule. So don't freak out anytime you're doing big changes to your art and you're like, damn, that looks terrible. Of course it looks terrible. Let's just change number one. Don't give up right away. You know, if I gave up after every major liquefy before, I would never get befores and afters. So just have faith in the process and trust your reference. This I could do just, you know, throw it anywhere I want and not care because I know it's hidden because I'm trusting my reference. That far I, because it's a tilted 3/4 view, I'm not worried about it. So I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes, you guys' shoes when you're painting. What are your concerns? How are you guys thinking? And you guys definitely panic too soon in making large changes like this. You always do some kind of mild version of what I did, especially those who correct after I've done the corrections. You know, in Critique Hour and the artists, like for instance, you know, whoever I pick for Critique Hour, they go and they try to fix it themselves. They always do like this really, really mild version of my changes, and they don't get the benefits of the changes. Really try it. If you don't like it, even after doing it, that's different. But don't you know, be scared of the changes of the hack and slash and the cutting and the throwing in and the throwing out. There is benefit to this kind of fundamental change. All right. So I feel like I caught most of it. The ears are nice and low. I'm gonna throw them over here. Let's hit the like button. Yes, please. And then I'm gonna make the forehead this way. I might have to do some changes with the eye that include transform tool because I really want to make sure the eye is in the perfect perspective. The eyebrow is nice and high in a low angle perspective, like that where the viewer is low and the head is tilted away. The eyebrows are very low. And then I'm gonna go in and see what I can do with the structure of the nose, the far eye, etc. etc. Poured so much of my energy into this channel over the years. A lot of other channels go to my channel for information on what to add to their content, as if I didn't know. I've been around here for a very long time, and it's just so unfair that my notifications aren't going out. It's just so frustrating. So you know, like I other than, I'm not even sure who to talk to. I don't think there is anybody to talk to. It's just how YouTube works now. But if you guys do have suggestions on other platforms to move my channel to, other ways I could get better exposure, maybe keeping YouTube open, but, you know, kind of relying on something else for all of these, you know, important aspects of our community, like regular streams and announcements and sales and challenges and polls. All that stuff isn't going out to people, which is very sad. Go to Twitch. I know. I've been to Twitch. Twitch banned me and then begged me to come back, and there was a whole drama. I'm not even sure why they banned me. It was a really frustrating time. That's why I ended up in YouTube, because Twitch banned me. There was an error in our system, and we couldn't unban you at the time. But now that you have subscribers, we'd like for you to join our make money for us. Alright, not liking the face too much, but it doesn't matter because the face will have a lot of shadow on it anyway, and a lot of that direct light. And I'm gonna just smudge out. Maybe I want the eyes to be closed. I think it feels a little bit more beautiful with the eyes closed. The angle needs to be different. Maybe stream more often. I stream at least twice a week, you know, pretty regularly. So I have been for a long time, and I wouldn't say I'm not a regular streamer on YouTube, you know. Want that cheek to kind of be in the way, you know, that cheek when you tilt, you have that cheekbone, which can only really be revealed with the light, but I kind of just really want to exaggerate that if I can. Tilt that other eye that way. Tilt the nose up, the mouth up. I think that looks okay now. Okie dokie. Let me flatten and save because Photoshop's been crashing. Okay, so what's next? Our reference is a little different because we see the other shoulder. I'm going to, again, work with both. The next thing I'm going to do is capture the background. So that's that whole silhouette I was telling you guys about. And then I'll try to do everything else as well. Okay, so the way to do this is by keeping the lilies silhouetted. So maybe I could... do something like that. Where I have deselected all of this. Alright, and then selected all of that. So bear with me while I select every little lily. Okay, so got that, got that, I got that. I got that. Oops. Oops. I got some of that here. Some of that there. Got some of those. Fake those. Fake it till you make it. That's pretty much what I did, by the way. I just told everybody everything that I pretty much faked being a teacher to I knew I liked to teach, but I didn't have the knowledge. So what I did was I just taught what I knew, and as I was teaching, I started learning. And eventually I had knowledge to teach, but when I was 21, I just was teaching whatever I knew, which was 5 things. so in essence, I really did fake it till I made it. I should not be telling people this. People pay me good money to teach them nowadays. Anyway, alright. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I doing the right one? Yes, I am. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is highlights on midtones. Which one? I will do it on midtones. Just get her silhouette out of the water, okay? And then I will darken her. So I have to capture this lasso before I lose it. I will darken her in those areas where I feel like the light just simply can't reach her. And I'm going to use like a blue-green. I do the same with teaching programming. Do ya? First thing I'm going to do is color correct her because there's no reason why she needs to be full flesh tone. So I'm going to get color, and I don't want to do that. I just want to color correct some of this. Next thing I'm going to do is just use a nearby value here like this one and just bring down some of the shadows. Because there's really no reason why there's that much exposure. We did add a little bit of highlight, but that'll go back down. It'll be kind of like a back and forth till we get it right. And then on the lower parts of her character is going to be a bit of a silhouette. Can't completely envision what I want as a change, but we're definitely moving in the direction now at least. And then I'm going to grab this white, and anywhere where we do have light like this, I'm going to apply it. There is a bit of a shadow on her face from her hair, which I'll address later. I'm looking at my reference to guide me where the light would go. So we've got light on the top of the shoulder, on the breasts as well, which they need to be stacked a little differently. I didn't tilt the perspective exactly. On the stomach, on the bottom of the stomach here, on the diaphragm, into the belly button, on the hip bones, and on the top of the fish, the tail. That I think is really going to make it look like it's a nice, strong response to the light source, an environment that really represents what we're going for underwater. So I'm going to start darkening the water again until I have a little bit of both a silhouette where I need it and light where I need it, and then select inverse and just do the same thing on her, just as if she's floating in water, kind of weightless. And then selecting inverse yet again and just showing how the water doesn't really access every single part, just the light, sorry. Just wherever the lilies aren't casting a shadow. So there will be some shadows coming off the lilies, and I'll probably do this in a new layer. So I don't know if it's a cast shadow, then just don't take any shortcuts like I'm trying. Just start it off as a nice sharp shadow. And you can fake it, you know. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned with every lily that you see, because we will be blurring a lot of these shadows. So some in the background. Just trying to emphasize the idea that we are underwater. Some over here. It's just the indication of casting shadows somewhere nearby. Nobody said it has to lead back to any particular lily or any particular spot, as long as the indication is there. So then filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Okay, and that seems like a nice friendly amount. So now I know kind of which areas of her tail to keep looking like this, kind of like exposed to the light source. I don't know what this hand is doing, so I'm going to finally adjust the hand, because you're kind of breaking her silhouette anyway with that. Tons and tons of changes today. trying to find really quick ways to do everything. So I'm going to have to bring that shoulder down as well. That shoulder is a big reason why she feels suspended. I'm going to just grab the arm again and use it to Frankenstein her forearm. And then just darken to match. And we just put it there. Oops. Just trying to work as fast as possible. Color correcting, we need more underwater colors. We need more blue. We need more of that turquoise color. We need a lot more of that. So I will have to apply some towards the end when I can do sweeping changes. But you see how the closed eyes feel more serene? I kind of just lost the eye shape there. And then the ribs, oh, the breasts are casting shadows, so let me do that. Again, don't be scared. Don't do a half version of what you see in the reference. Don't do a cautious little, don't be a pussy, is what I used to say in Critique Hour. Write that back to me. So don't be a coward. And just cheat your way out of every great cast shadow you see in your reference. You pick this reference instinctively for a reason, so go for it. Whatever, you know, whatever the reference ends up being. So I'm casting a shadow this way. And then I'm placing that space in between the breasts, but I'm gonna try not to let it hide the other breast, but we'll see. And then the belly button needs a bit of definition, and that's just about having that overlap here. And then the rib cage, and then the initial. And I'm just checking my navigator to see if things look good. If things look good in the navigator, they'll look good in your piece once they're blended, because the navigator is an auto blend. Kind of gives you that feeling like you're, or you know, it lets you look in the future of your brushes, where they will be in the future once you blend them, which is a really useful tool. Overblend when it comes to breasts, never underblend, or kind of just try to keep banding happening, because unless it's a really strong Terminator line, you really don't need to keep blocking visible. It's a very plushy, not plushy, squishy area. I don't have my freaking things on. Again, keyboard shortcuts. Image. Yes. Alright, so this breast does need, son of a bitch, this breast does need to go in front, because our rotation in our piece is a little different from our reference, which I should have referenced for, but it's okay. Again, just checking with the reference, making sure it's good, and then showing where that overlaps and where this cast shadow kind of falls forward. So pieces like this are considered pinup just because you have a lot of breast, a lot of sitting like a pinup girl. So you have to take your time with those pinup requirements, those characteristics that make it read as that. I wouldn't say it's pinup like exactly pinup. It's not really, doesn't have a very specific audience, I would say, where you'd have like 40s pinup or something like that. But it is a bare breast, kind of full frontal. So you have to spend some time on the figure, make sure that you have that And then the cast shadow of the neck, really important one. Again, just trying to make it feel like the light is coming from above. And then now I'm blending. So there's a lot of areas here that need help. Need to be blended out. Not so much I wanted it to look like a fattier stomach or anything like that. Just wanted the belly button to have some form. So I might tuck in a little, and then tuck out. I usually draw what we are, so I'm pretty much just telling the world I have a pudge. And I have a pudge. Oh, do I got some pudge. Let's call it the COVID pudge. I'm working on it. I'm going to the gym for it. Right, the rib cage I feel like has been lost, but it's okay. And then I feel like there might be a shadow for that part of the breast, but I could be wrong. So I'm gonna throw the line in and then blend away half the line. Because it's right in the center of the piece, you can't really get away with an unfinished boob. Pudge is cool, pudge is life. For wherever the breast may point down, you might need some bounce light. I'm gonna throw some in just in case. Just because it'll help it read a little bit more, but I don't want it to be too much. And then I'm going to figure out the shoulder. The shoulder isn't exposed all the way, so in a new layer, just like we see here, the shoulder is catching some light, so I should have shrunk the universal light, but I'm just trying to hurry up. In Portrait Studio, you could shrink the range, so it's kind of a smaller range, just like we see here. So there's different ways to do it. It could be the person in the foreground as a silhouette, kind of sneaking through the lilies, looking at the you know, whatever the narrative was. Or it could be she is just the main focus of the painting and there isn't anybody else staring at her being a perv. But she is a mermaid, so she's not really naked. She's just a mermaid, so maybe he's not a perv. Alright, and I'm going to clean this up. So, as you can see, figure drawing is a very important part of your education. And the best way to figure out, no pun intended, how to do figure drawing is to start with your form studies. You need to know where core shadows are. Excuse me. You need to know where the light source is. You need to think about the light source a little bit better. And you can't do that, you know, without removing the idea that you're doing a figure, because you will accidentally paint a figure that is your memory of a figure or what you think a figure is, and then we're going to start getting weird little habits coming through that make no sense. I really gave her a nice COVID pudge, didn't I? I'm going to increase the size of the ears just because it'll give us a nice little opportunity for a subsurface value on the ears. Right now they're looking a bit opaque, not really ear-like. And because she's tilting her head, she's really not tilting her head as much as I'd like. I did not pull that off. But I'm gonna just try to let them sit a bit further than the usual ear because they're kind of just boring right now. They're kind of too tucked in, a little bit close. I could always just grab the head. Oops, see. Grab the head and just tilt it more that way. That way we have some of her head hidden. It's really not necessary at this point. I think we hit the nail on the head already. We don't need to dilly-dally anymore, Istebrak. So I'm going to select the ear, go into my dodge tool, not the right color, let me color correct it. Then go into dodge tool. Oopsie, wrong one. And then just check my navigator to see if it feels right. And then correct the shadow, make sure the side of the head has the shadow it needs to make sense. So the ear pops out just a little bit, catching some light. Okay, and then I'm going to do some sweeping changes for the light environment. Make some hair floating that way. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just start blending at this this whole setup here. Let me clean up the neck and the ears. So this whole hair situation, I'm going to try to blend that out. I am going to max out this light. I'm going to mess with the levels a little bit, just a little bit. And keep kind of playing with the levels and the highlight. And you could like break up the hair a little, like it doesn't have to be all just one piece. If you like that kind of vertical hair growth, just the hair kind of growing vertically, you might want to lower her so that we have a little bit more of a length to the hair. So if you were to grab her wholeness and bring her down, you have more hair flowing upward, which just gives you a little bit more to work with. Let's test it out, see if I even like it. What do you guys think? I don't like it. Alright, let's move. Actually, I might like it if I fleshed it out a little bit, but I don't want to. And then I'm gonna just strengthen. Everything else after this really is just rendering. It's all that's left that you need to do. But before that, I'm gonna try to pull this off with dodge tool because I'm running out of time. I'm really running out of time. So I want to exaggerate some of the areas that I feel like need that point light. And then casting a shadow on her whole head. Except her cheeks. So I'm gonna just kind of throw it where I want. Copy, paste. And delete wherever her cheeks are emerging through catching some of that light. So kind of like a cast shadow. A little bit on her upper eyelids. And I'm gonna still try to go back and correct that space behind her. Good thing I didn't choose the longer hair because I'd have lost the lasso. But I do want to push her silhouette a little bit more. Because I think her silhouette would actually be really strong. Much stronger. Why do I torture myself? If it was just a bit more pronounced. Just a bit. I'm just gonna see what I could pull off. With like a darkened layer for her silhouette. I think it looks great because too much exposure kind of doesn't let it feel like it's deep water. And then of course I'll go back and delete where I wanted to, wherever the light was accessing her face. Just in those general areas. Even if you just kept it like that, like we had it earlier before I started erasing, that also looks wonderful. But because we have this strong overhead light and it's like a drama to it and a romance, we want to try to make it feel like it's a little bit of both. But like I said, where you were before was just, things were just too bright. And it just seemed like it was regular daylight, not like it was deep water. Dang, I should have saved the new lasso. That's okay. All is well. No, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, so I'm gonna select the spaces around her and try to clean up just a little bit, just to make things look, oh, that looked pretty too, making her look more washed out. Select inverse, thank you. Just to clean up some of the space behind her. It's kind of like, as I said before, it's a back and forth trying to find the perfect balance. Sorry, I'm just getting lost in all of this. And then inverse. Okay, and then for colors. So the colors here are, what I want to do is just basically do my regular little darken and color modes. So color, and then just trying to find a, like a greenish underwater color. And then the darken layer in the same form, like with blue, let's say. So we've got like a green underwash and a blue. And I like the pink there, it's pretty, but I'm going to keep it only where there's sunshine. So low opacity on that, low opacity on that. So I want things to read like they're underwater. So I'll delete where we would have some fleshy tones, and delete, of course, where we need most of that strong overhead light. Maybe there's a bit of a glow around her. And then there's the main band of light, and the, you know, the cast shadows that I mentioned earlier. There's the main band of light that we need to consider as well. And I really don't miss all of the red on her skin. I don't feel like we've lost a whole bunch of stuff. So merge, merge. And then finally some subsurface scattering of the lilies. Wherever we usually have a shadow, that's where subsurface scattering hangs out when it's a see-through object. I'll put that on saturate and see what I can get away with up here. And the more desaturation you have down here, the more anything that's saturated will come through. Oops. And I kind of want to bring in one more kind of color here, just for the depths, just for the deepest areas, and then wash out some of the mermaid as she's inside, and then re-darken some of those lilies. So it's kind of like a half in, half out silhouette. So before I brushed, I will darken some lilies that sit over top. Anything that's in front. Just to really make it feel like we've got the depth that we need. So now she's behind the lilies. Kind of feels like her arm is not really attached. And I would do a way more careful job, you know, with the arms and all of that. Like, obviously I'm using this to hide the hand. No judging. It's 6'10", guys. No judging, please. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. These are things you do. And if you wanted to, you could also have some, I mean, I feel like her head could be all shadow. You know, we don't need to have any light. Oops, we don't need to have any light on her head at all. She could just be suspended. But now it feels like we are peeking behind the leaves, yeah. Let me show you what it is when we have her whole head covered in shadow. It really feels complete when we do that. So there is still light on her face, but it's not too much. The hair is casting a lot of the shadow. Maybe a bit on her chin. Felt like her face was too exposed before. Yeah. And then I'm just gonna try to find what the heck color I used for that shadow. So because the hair was there, I have to obviously make decisions so that the hair doesn't, that the hair is respected, and that the color is there, the shape of the hair is there. I couldn't add that to Portia's studio, but if I had not had any hair, her face, her whole head would be covered in light. So one thing I want to do, which is very sneaky, is give her hair a color. Of course. It's red hair, of course. Little Mermaid was the very first thing I saw. The very first Disney movie I've ever seen. We watched it in a refugee hotel type landing thing where refugees, while they're getting processed in Toronto, in downtown Toronto, that's where that's where we all were until they gave us a home. And they played Little Mermaid for all the kids. Some of the red because the shadow of the hair is falling on her face, some of that red will fall on her face though, if we do go that way. So yeah, Little Mermaid was the very first movie I've ever watched with Disney. It's got a special place in my cold, dead heart. I'm gonna move this around to show you the awesomeness that is changing the color of her hair, which is my favorite thing. It used to be when I used to be a noob, it used to be my favorite thing about character design. I just get the slider and it was like character select, you know, I could just mess so much with every little selection. What color eyes, different color eyes. One eye was blue, one eye was green, the hair was pink. And I just sat here all day. So you can go for something warmer, you can go for something cooler. I like the blue. I like the green. It's just a film of color. It doesn't need to be something intense. I'm gonna go for the red. It's kind of like not a red anymore, it's a purple, but it has to be because the wash is green. So there's not much of the orange red left, but there is some of the blue red left. And that's really it. There's not much else I could do. There's a little bit of the spotlight behind shining through in the background. So I'm gonna try to, and that'll kind of reveal her silhouette. Oh, right. Sliders are fun, yes they are. You can do all kinds of stuff. I have all kinds of toppings. And that's just for the light behind her, moving down, kind of helping the background a little. There's a lot I want to change. There's a lot I want to continue doing. I feel like we haven't really delved into all of the choices we have, but for the most part, it feels more like an illustration now because you really are revealing the water. It's not about the portrait, it's about the figure and the story the figure is telling. And of course, we're just going from there. We're deciding on what the cast shadows are. And creating depth for the environment in the foreground. Lots of really cool stuff that's minimal effort, but it's obviously high value when it comes to the fundamentals. So I'm just trying to reveal her shape because it is, again, all about her figure as a mermaid. We've kind of lost the fin, that whole tail situation. So I'm trying to find sneaky ways to reveal it. Just like that, kind of just like faking the silhouette a little bit with my eraser tool. Come on. It needs to be a little bit more slender. So we got to look at a mermaid in Mermaid. Oh my god. I used to be all about that shit. I used to draw mermaids on Mermaid. Mermaid is just people drawing lots of mermaids in May. And it's been around since I was a child. So it's really cool and fun. And if trends inspire people, then why not? You could sneak a couple more little bands of light. I don't know how many more I can sneak in without basically starting all over again. But just for the sake of the after, I'm gonna try. I try. As you can see, I'm literally just throwing things anywhere. It does not need to make sense at all. Alright, shouldn't look like that. Oh my god, I'm gonna be here all day. Starting to look a little closer to what I was envisioning, but we shall see if it doesn't fall apart. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. I just want that extra little band, just so it works. And then, and those leaves of the lilies that are catching a little bit of light, they also could use a little bit of illumination. Just wherever they might catch a little bit of light. Color dodge for Aria. Just wherever they get some. Like that. This shadow band seems like it just suddenly dissipates. So I'm gonna try to make it make sense. Some things got lost, like the tail could afford to be a bit darker. But don't worry if things are looking too sharp, because I'm gonna blur the lower half. Burn on midtones, just because it needs to have a bit of shape to it. And then there is the saturating the tail. The tail needs more iridescence. It needs to be something that really feels mermaidy. So I'm just gonna use sponge tool, which is the best way to kind of mess with that. And I'm gonna get my handy dandy scale brush, which I don't know where I found, but I found it a long time ago. Where are you? Come on. Come on. Is it that one? Where is it? I selected it and put it like somewhere especial. This is my brush set that I used back when I used to freelance. I used to do all kinds of shit. So that's, I'm not going to keep the whole thing, of course. I'm just going to throw a crap ton of texture on it and throw some sponge tool, dodge tool, sporadic sponge tool, select, go back to before I did that. You're all like, yo, what the fuck? Where did you get this brush? Give me. And I'm going to delete that some of it. Alright, so I don't want to keep it all. That's the reaction I get every time I use this brush. And I'm not giving it to you. Just let me have some things to myself, you greedy children. Alright, and you can throw some of that texture on her body as well. And then from a distance, I see that I really feel I want to like do this to her hair. Just kind of let the hair glow just for itself. I'm not sure. Let me saturate the whole thing. And select, go back to before I did that. And just ease up on the saturation up here because it is still daylight. So it just needs to be white, really. Actually, I might do that. And I want to bring in those little wavies, you know what I mean? Those water wavies. So I'm just gonna, they just usually just cross each other. Maybe some from the bottom. It's just usually just squares. This might just completely fall apart, so don't judge me. Filter, blur, vision. Until it just gets distorted a little bit. And I think that's it. I think that's all there is to it. It's not magic. At least from what I remember from when I used to freelance. I used to pull shit like this off. I might grab this little section I made and just kind of throw it on her butt a little. And I promise I'm almost done. I'm not a fan of the hair anymore. Just because I looked away and looked back at it. So I might just turn it into like green or blue or something. Oh, it looks cute. Orange down. Just kind of color correcting some stuff. And then maybe there is no color to the hair. Maybe it is blue. Blue looks cuter. I'm just over here like fangirling over the colors, really. It really just, I think there was red in the original though, but I'm not 100% sure. So this is how you forget about the freaking face and just work on the body, work on the figure and the story told there. And you could, you know, if we posed it a little differently, you could go and introduce that little character in the foreground who's witnessing or whatever it is. There's only so much, as you can see, there's restrictions. There's only so much I can do between my liquify and my transform tool to try to get exactly what I see in the Portrait Studio changes. But at the end of the day, there's a lot that goes into drafting, so you will have a much better chance at capturing what's in the reference than I do with all my corrections and time limit. Not comfortable with calling it quits just yet, but I probably should anyways. We could use a bit more definition on the lilies, stuff like that. Just that stuff is annoying me, like we could just use a little bit more. But I'm gonna copy it, image, what am I doing? Blur, Gaussian blur, blurring the whole piece, especially the foreground. Okay, so I'm gonna blur for the foreground first and erase her. Erase these guys. I don't have access to the layers anymore, so that's why I'm doing it like this. And then duplicate the layer again, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, because things underwater are blurred. So you really don't need that much definition on any of the stuff apart from her. So before all the blur, after all the blur, it just feels more underwater. And if you don't like it, you can adjust opacity till you do. Opacity doesn't work that well since the blur reveals the opacity reveals the edge. But anyway, I hope you guys like this. Before and after is going to be too different to make any effect, but before it looks a little bit murky, like the character's just floating in mud or is just there. She's facing forward. The color palette doesn't read as underwater. After you have a little bit more motion, especially the motion blur. The face is still bothering me because I did not get the right color at the end. What am I doing? What am I doing? I just need a little bit more time to kind of figure that part out. Because I know her face right at the top needs to be pink. So before, after, the tail needs to be darker. I would spend more time on this than I did. Things are looking just a little too washed out towards the lower half, but it was because I wanted it to make it feel like it was underwater. Maybe the darkening did a lot. Oh, that did a lot. And then maybe dodge tool, bring out the highlights, and we'll have a silhouette after all. Alright, so what were some of the biggest changes we made today? Thank you so much. It looks so much more elegant. And you can apply these changes to your current version. You can adjust the version a little bit, so maybe she doesn't have to be looking up with her eyes closed. It could be something else. Yeah, it is completely different, so it might not be as effective as before and after, just because it's so different. The entire space behind is open. You see how you don't really need more gunk in the background. It wouldn't even be visible if you were swimming underwater. Have you ever been underwater in a lake and you don't see other little plant life till it's right in front of you? So it felt more underwater when you can barely see plant life anyway. So it's overrated kind of having those abundantly filled out scenes. It's super, super overrated. But we started with an environment change and went on into a figure change. So we started with lightening the background, then adjusting the figure. That took its own amount of time. Adjusted the perspective. Oh, I didn't fix the shoulder after all. Stupid. Of course, we used the Portrait Studio model to help us with the figure. She really feels like she's kind of suspended in the water. Just kind of just letting herself float before it kind of felt a little bit haunched, you know. And that actually might have just been what I needed to do. I'm sorry, I'm almost done. That might have been what I needed to do to fix the shoulder here. Merge down. And then erase with soft brush. Yeah, that is what I needed to do. Anyway, also Pudge gives it +5 beautiness. Oh, before she also looked kind of lost. Now she looks relaxed. Yeah. Before she, and then here I thought at the start it looks really good. How much can it be improved? I would legit buy this as a painting. Oh, thank you. But remember, this is the original artist's work as well. And you can definitely apply all these changes. You'll have way better access to layers than I do. I was just jumping around for the spotlights. I was making a mess. You'll have a much better idea of how to like clean up these little, this is just all placeholders. Like look at the light on the lilies. It's still really rough. The edges are still too rough everywhere. But you can do it. Thank you everyone for coming. If you guys learned something today and you want to give back to the community, feel free to join us on Patreon. It is, as I said at the start of the class, a really relaxed but low pressure, but still you're still accountable for their due dates. So it's still some way of having a class format for those who don't want to dedicate to private tutoring or classes or anything like that, but still want to do some kind of homework that promotes the building of a portfolio at the end of the year. You're still having assignments, you're still having someone look at your work for the $20 tier apprentice. And if you don't have that kind of resource at the moment, you can always support the channel by joining as a $1 patron as well. That is just as welcome. If everybody joins, it's actually a lot easier on me. And it supports the community's longevity for a really long time, because $1 is a very little amount to weigh too much on anyone. But if everybody joined, it is just a direct support for the channel to keep it up. And I think the strongest communities are at work like that. The community challenge, please go to Reddit. So istebrak.com, go to Reddit to get your work looked at. If you want your stuff on my Photoshop for the next critique hour, that's how you do it. istebrak.com, Reddit. Look at the two top notifications. One of them is about the creative writing challenge. If you're a writer and you want to write a challenge for our upcoming challenge, please look here, read this. If you're not getting any notifications, please, 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 I beg you, go turn on your subscribe button to all on my channel, on my YouTube channel. The channel is dying and I don't know what to do about it other than this. So thank you everyone for coming today. I'll see you guys on my next critique hour. I am feeling a little bit sick again. I think I went into my work a little bit too fast. I took on the full course load like I did before the surgery, and I think I need to slow down a little bit. So I'm down to 1 critique hour a week and half course load. I just need to take a little bit more time for myself. I'm losing my voice a lot quicker. It's just, I need to slow down a little bit. So maybe next week will be 2, at least 1, I promise. And if you want to buy Portrait Studio is available on my store. It will be on sale upcoming in May, at the end of May, starting in June or mid-May. Portrait Studio is on sale. That's the program I used today to pose our model. Thank you, everyone. Bye.